like, let's get the party started, as sort of, I saw it as sadistic, to be honest. But I know people have hurricane parties and stuff, but, you know, I wouldn't risk it. I'd be worried the whole time. Like, you know, what am I supposed to do? And where are all the awnings? My grandmother, who I called Mum, my sister and I had a Mum in Palm Beach Gardens, which is north of West Palm Beach. She and our Papa retired there in a trailer park, except he wound up passing away within 3 weeks of them finally moving down there. So we never got to enjoy retirement, basically. But also my aunt and her 2 sons and husband took up residence in North Palm, just, you know, between West Palm Beach and Palm Beach Gardens. Anyway, I remember that at my aunt's house, and at my mom's house, they had these, I don't know if they're considered old-fashioned or if they still do it, but they have these awnings, like hard shell awnings that you pull down over the windows, or you really like unlatch the latch and then let the awning come down over the window, and it would be more like they would be metal, you know, as opposed to some flimsy, you know, stuff. So interestingly, my dad wound up retiring there with his second wife many years. They've passed away, but they would be worried, I think, if this thing was headed their way, because they were kind of near, like, they had canal streets and stuff like that in that particular neighborhood. But I don't remember if they had awnings like that. I have to check with my Akashic records in the sky. They did? Okay. I will check, because I don't picture them on the front of the house. Like, the house is, you know, on Zillow or whatever. Barracuda Drive, Riverdale. I don't know if it's Riverdale Estates or just Riverdale. But their home had a specific style, which had more like shingles or siding appearance as opposed to a stucco. Anyway, I'm trying to picture, I can't picture those things, but maybe they had them and I didn't know, or you fixate them on the house when prepping for a hurricane. I don't know. They were pretty lucky. They were there for 22-ish years, 22, 23 years. They left in late 90s, like 98, 99. And then my father passed away at the end of 2020, coronavirus. Then his wife, my stepmother, passed away in July of 2022, almost exactly 2 years after my mom passed away. My mom passed away during coronavirus, even though she didn't have coronavirus. So hers was more natural causes. It just so happened to be during the peak of the pandemic. Also, my aunt would pass away. I lived with my mom and aunt, and my aunt would pass away in April of 2021. April 30th. It's a Hathaway month, so there were only 30 days in April, just like September and whatever months. I always forget the months that only have 30 days. I have to do that song and then I forget. So anyway, hopefully, you know, send down all my prayers and wishes to them. I genuinely hope they, you know, no one gets harmed or there's no major damage down there. My stepsister and her husband have, you know, a sturdier home. My aunt I would worry about because she's in more of a mobile home. But they're inland enough where it would more likely be just, you know, the wind, and then any possible spin-off tornadoes. I don't know how hurricanes work, so hopefully everything will be okay. They've been lucky all these years, like kind of lucky in that nothing major happened as far as I know. So my dad and Barbara, his second wife of many years, I don't think they ever had to fix any major damage or anything because of any type of tropical storm or depression or hurricane. We won't talk about who causes depression, who doesn't. That's some serious damage. That just came up as a metaphor. We won't get into victims of people who cause depression and the people who are depressed because of that, but that's, you know, we'll have to put that on the weather map. I'm feeling under the weather. A friend of mine used to say I'm feeling a little under the weather, and I started to pick up on like a double meaning. He would mean like, I think he meant you probably don't feel good today because there's too many people, there's too much of a police presence today. It's a special holiday. There's a lot more going on. So people who are generally need to be at peace cannot be agitated by certain energy going on in their surrounding, area, So there are people who feel darker, depressed, and not that great when certain energies arise. Some people wind up coping through food and drugs. So their coping mechanisms to militant mindsets and overly controlling or domineering situations, and technically like a police state, technically they have to be in place to prevent chaos, which is totally understandable, but there are people who can't necessarily exist as well in a healthy way because of all that going on, all that needs to be done when there's a huge police presence or similar emergency response presence. Anyone who has a certain type of mentality that fits into that world. And then there are people who aren't part of that world, and we will seek out yoga, whatever it takes. And there's a huge population of people who had to medicate through food and or drugs. I think because of the fact that there isn't really equality and peace, you know what I mean? So if you are stolen from at birth or within, in your childhood, you're missing a parent, namely daughter's missing a dad, they're going to seek for quote-unquote love or fulfillment elsewhere or coping. And there's a huge argument for that. I'm a strong proponent, even for the neighborhood. I do recognize the importance of a male. I think they had an L Word episode where they showed a lesbian couple that wanted to make sure a male was present because they know it's necessary. Men can help people feel safe. I used to live there right above. The Psychic wasn't there. It used to be an ice cream shop. Dirty Frank's is over here. Oddly, my dad's name was Franklin. But in Philadelphia, we have Ben Franklin, we have Frank Zappa, we have Aretha Franklin, and Frankie Avalon is on there, Frank Sinatra. And there's a little cat in the window up there. I used to have cats. Technically my windows are right above the entrance. Was I right about? Right. I was supposed to be on the corner, but they were fixing up the building, and at the last minute they switched it. Do you mind, and this is what Pearl Property, it's not a Pearl Properties any longer, but that's what they would do to someone. Do you mind living, if we switched your units? Because we're doing renovations in the building, and the renovations might have been, installed or triggered because of me moving in the building. I don't think I'm all that in a bag of chips, but I know what happened to me, and I started to wonder who gains at my expense. So anyway, they should have given me a discount to live right above Dirty Frank's in the entryway. And I thought I was getting a corner unit with all these extra windows, but I was in a desperate situation. Where I lived in two different locations before moving into the apartments Pineview above Dirty Frank's. Both of those locations converted to condominiums. Do you think that's a pushing out issue? They did it to my mom as well. She moved into an apartment on the St. Johns River-ish area. They were very modest apartments. It wasn't like they were expensive or anything. And in Jacksonville, Florida. She moved down there